So last week in the TikTok beginners live, I was asked to show somebody how to make a granny square cardigan. So first of all, let's talk measurements, okay? To make a granny square cardigan, what we need to do is we need to get a jumper or a cardigan. Just ignore my bad drawing, okay? Let's say this is it. What you need to do is you need to measure this distance. And then if you're going to make it the same way as me, whatever this distance is, let's say it's 50 centimeters, for example, you need to divide that by 5, okay? On the back of our granny square cardigan, what we do is we have an arrangement like this. And then we have 4 across here, okay? For example, so that's what the back would look like. So then each granny square would have to be 10 centimeters. Sorry about that. So yeah, each granny square would have to be 10 centimeters, okay? And now the arms are slightly different, because what we do for the arms is we do 2 granny squares to get the right width for the arm. So what you need to do is measure the width of the arm, and then whatever that width is, let's say it's, I don't know, 16 centimeters, your granny squares for your arms would need to be 16 centimeters. So your granny square for your arms looks different because they're bigger. So we would have 4 bigger squares. Sorry, running out of paper here. That are 16 centimeters, okay? So that's sort of roughly how it goes. I've got 1 granny square left to make before I can put it all into practice to show you. I'm not doing a big square. I'm not doing a big granny square. I'm literally doing 1 round and 2 rounds just to show you. So let me recap on how to make a granny square, and then I will show you how to do the layout. Right, let's make the granny square, and then I'll go into how many squares you need, okay? So let's wrap the yarn around your fingers like this. We are making a magic ring, and then we cross it over. And then we go under the first piece, over the second piece, pull and twist, and then you wrap and pull through. And that is your magic ring, okay? Now, let's pull it a little bit tighter. I have done lots of videos on granny squares, so this is just a recap. We need to chain 2. So to chain, remember you wrap and pull, wrap and pull. To do a double crochet, you wrap, you poke, you wrap, you pull, and then you wrap and pull through 2, wrap and pull through 2, and then you're going to do that again because we want a cluster of 3. So we're going to wrap and poke, wrap and pull, and then you're going to wrap, pull through 2, wrap, pull through 2, and then what we need is a chain 2. So you're going to wrap and pull, wrap and pull, and then we need another 3 double crochets into the ring. So we're going to wrap and poke, wrap and pull, wrap, pull through 2, wrap, pull through 2, wrap and poke, wrap and pull, wrap, pull through 2, wrap, pull through 2, wrap and poke, wrap and pull, wrap, pull through 2, wrap, pull through 2. So you can see here we have got 1 corner. Now to make the next corner, we're going to chain 2. So you're going to wrap and pull, wrap and pull, and then we're going to make our 3rd cluster. So a cluster is just 3 double crochets, and a double crochet just means that you wrap and poke, wrap and pull, wrap, pull through 2, wrap, pull through 2, wrap and poke, wrap and pull, wrap, pull through 2, wrap, pull through 2, wrap and poke, wrap and pull, wrap, pull through 2, wrap, pull through 2. That is your 3rd cluster. So now you can see we've got 2 corners. Now we need to chain 2 for the next corner. So we're going to wrap and pull, wrap and pull. And then we're going to put another cluster in here. So remember that's 3 doubles. And for a double you wrap and poke, wrap and pull, wrap, pull through 2, wrap, pull through 2, wrap and poke, wrap and pull, wrap, pull through 2, wrap, pull through 2, wrap and poke, wrap and pull, wrap, pull through 2, wrap, pull through 2, and then what you're going to do is chain 2. So wrap and pull, wrap and pull, and then we're going to slip stitch into the 3rd chain. So that's 1, 2, 3. We're going to slip stitch into here. Now slip stitch just means that you poke, you wrap and pull, and then you pull this one through this one like that, and that is the first round of a granny square. I'm going to show you how to do the next round and then I'm going to stop. Okay, so to get to this chain space, which is what we need to do, we need to slip stitch through the remaining stitches. So we're going to go through here and we are going to wrap and pull, and then this one is going to go through this one, and we're going to do it again. So you're going to poke, then you're going to wrap and pull, and this one is going to go through this one, and then you're going to go to your next corner. So you're going to poke, you're going to wrap, and then this one will go through this one, and then we're going to chain 2. So 1, 2. I'm going to go a little bit faster on this round. We now need 2 double crochets, so let's go 1 and 2, and then we need to chain 2, and then we need to double crochet 3. So 1, 2 and 3, and that has made your next corner. So now we're going to do a double straight into here. So 1, 2 and 3. Then we're going to chain 2 and do another double, another cluster, sorry. So that's 1 and 2 and 3. That's your second corner done. And then we're going to go into the next corner and we're going to go straight in with a double. We're actually going to do a cluster, so that's the first one, second one and third one, and then we're going to chain 2, and then we're going to do another cluster. So we've got 1, 2 and 3, and then we're going to do a cluster. So that's your third corner. We're going to do a cluster straight into here. So that's 1, 2 and 3, and then we're going to do a chain 2, and then we're going to do 3 doubles in there again. This is making your last corner, and then you're going to slip stitch into the chain. So we've got 1, 2, and I only did a 2 chain, so we're just going to go into the top of the second chain with a slip stitch. So to slip stitch you poke, then you wrap and pull, and then this one goes through this one. Okay, so that's 2 rounds. Now you can make them as big as you want, but I'm only making this one 2 rounds because I'm only making a very small cardigan to show you. Okay, that's the end of part 1. Please join me for part 2 to find out what we do next. So for the back of the cardigan, the back panel, you're going to need approximately 20, if not 25, of the small granny squares. You know, the ones that we measured and we said they needed, if your waist was 50 centimetres, then you needed them to be 10 centimetres. So they're the small ones. And then you will need 8 or 10 if you want to go a bit longer. You'll need 8 for this side of the front panel and 8 for this side of the front panel. Like I said, if you want to go longer, then you might want to add 2 more. So that's the back panel and the 2 front panels. Now let me show you the arms. And then for the arms, you need at least 4 of the bigger squares. You may want 6, it depends how long you want your arms. And actually for someone who's got really long, you might want 8 bigger squares. So you need the same on the other side. So that is, what is that, 20, 30, 36 smaller squares. And at the moment we want 8 bigger squares. However, that may increase depending on your arm size, but let me show you what to do next. So next, what we need to do is we need to sew this panel together. We need to sew this panel together. We need to sew this panel together, this panel together, and then we need to sew the back panel together. Okay, I'm going to show you how I sew it. I will show you on the bigger arm one. And then I will show you what all the panels look like and what we do after that once they're all joined together. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to join this one, and then I'll show you what to do after that. So to sew this arm panel together, what we're going to need is a darning needle, and some yarn. Now I'm going to use the mattress stitch. You don't have to use this stitch, but this is the one that I think is the best, okay? So this is the mattress stitch. But we're going to fold these in so that both of the right sides are facing out. So then what you do, you get your darning needle and you go through the loop closest to the middle of the squares on this side. Don't pull this yarn all the way through though, because you want some left so you can tighten it afterwards. And then you're going to go through the loop closest to the middle on the other side. Only the one loop though, okay? We don't go through both loops here. And then you come back to this side and you're going to go through this loop. You're going to try, there you go. Go through this loop. And then you're going to go through the next loop on this side, which I believe is that one. And you just go backwards and forwards the whole way along, okay? So then through this one, and then through this one, and then through this one, and this one, and this one, and this one, and this one, this one, and then through this one. Don't worry that you can still see all the stitches at the moment, it really doesn't matter, okay? And then once we've done this, these two squares, we are going to add the other two squares for the arm. So at the moment we've gone across like that. Now we're going to do the same with these ones. We are going to put those two together like this, and I'm going to go through here, and then I'm going to go through the same on the other side. I'm just going to pull it up now though so that they are level, and then I'm going to go back through this side and then through this side. Where are you? Come on, this side, and then back through this side and this side and this side. So yeah, we are literally just weaving backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards. Don't worry about the stitching at the moment. I will show you what to do with that in a minute. But you're going to join all your panels in the same way. So your two arm panels will need to be joined, your two front panels and your back panel in exactly the same way. Right, and then what you can do with this is a bit I like. If you pull both ends, it will tighten the stitches. It pulls them apart, but don't worry, because what you can do is just pull that along, look, and it joins back up. So you don't need to worry about that. And there is the join. And now, once we've done it one way, we then, again, with both facing outwards, we now need to go that way, okay? But what I would also do is just tie this in a little knot. So I will go back through here, once you've got it however tight you want, and just tie it in a knot and then cut off your end, because what we will eventually do is hide the end anyway. And you can do the same on the other end. So here, look, we can just tie this in a little knot. You can use a crochet hook as well, you don't have to re-thread the needle. So just poke it in there, pull that through, tighten it, and then we'll hide the ends anyway, so it won't matter. And then we're going to do the same, going this way. Make sure sometimes when you do this it might flip like this and you've got the right side and the wrong side, so just make sure you've got both of the right sides facing you until you fold it like that. And then what we're going to do is, it is much better if you sew in your ends beforehand. So then we are going to do the other way. In exactly the same way, you go through one side and then the other side and then the other side. And you only go through one loop, not both. Just because it makes it look so much neater if you do it like that. and this is my version of the mattress stitch. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called, the mattress stitch. I'm just going to poke that bit down because I don't really want that in my stitch. There we go. And then we're going to go back through there and through there and through there, through there, and like I say, we just do this with all of the panels. I do use the mattress stitch quite a lot. I do love it. It's just so much easier. I know some people like to do the whole slip stitch all the way through, but I find this much better. Don't forget to tighten it though before you put it in a knot. And through there. And then what we can do again is just pull both ends tight. And you can still see it because it's a different colour, but it looks so much better. Right, and then I'm just going to get my crochet hook and I am going to just knot this over here and do the same with this side. And now what you need to do is you need to go and do this, go and do this. So mattress stitch this and this on all of the panels. I'm going to come back once I've finished all of the panels so that I can show you. But yeah, that's one panel done. Right, once you have sewn all your squares together, this is an arm for me, then you have to get rid of your ends. So I'm going to show you how to get rid of this middle end. I'm going to show you how I get rid of this end, and then I'm going to show you how I get rid of the ends that I've used to sew in. But let's start with this middle end. So I'm just going to thread my darning needle. This isn't a hard job, but it's just a long and quite boring job with all the ends you're going to have on this granny square cardigan. But anyway, what we're going to do is the magic ring end. We are going to continue to thread it through the magic ring, so go in the same direction, just as far as you can, and then you're going to use this stitch as an anchor and you're going to go back the other way so that if it gets pulled, it's not going to easily undo, like that. So that's that end done. Just give it a little tighten as much as you can and then snip it off. And then this end here, which is the end that we fastened off the granny square, again we're going to darn our needle. No, we're not going to darn our needle, we're going to thread our needle. And then we're going to darn our end in. So the way I do this is I try and follow one of the stitches down to where there's a lot of stitches all together. So I'm going to go through this bit here, and then I'm going to go all the way around this bend because that will hide the end really well. And then I'm going to use this stitch here as an anchor so that it doesn't go back through, and I'm going to go all the way back through the other way. And again, if this gets snagged, we're hoping that it won't undo. So there's two ends done. And then we've got this final end here, and this is where we have sewn together the squares. Okay, I've done a lot of my sewing in already. So let's thread that needle. And again, what you really want to do is get down to a place where there's a lot of stitches. So I'm just going to go through this stitch. This will be on the inside of your cardigan anyway. go through this stitch, and then I'm going to go through these stitches here. There's a lot of stitches here, you see, so it'll hide the end. And then I'm going to use this as an anchor stitch, and I'm going to go back the other way like that, and then I'm going to snip it off. So now you need to do that with all of your panels. You need to get rid of all of your ends so that we can clearly see what we're doing. This is my arm panel. So here is my back panel finished. What I'm going to actually do is turn that over, because this is the right way round for our granny squares. This is the messy, the wrong way round. So we want this on the inside of the cardigan. So I'm turning that round. And then you want your front panel, but this one can go the right way for now, and we're just going to pop it there. And then we want our other front panel, which again can go the right way for now, and we're just going to pop it there. And then we want our arm panel. So our arm panels are going to go there like that. Sorry, and there like that. But now we need to sew all of this together. So I'm going to show you how to do that. But first, let's get the layout right. We are going to flip the front panel over like this front panel over like this, and we are going to open the arm panels out like this. And then what that means is this line here doesn't look much like a line, but it will when you sew it, will be in line with this line, and this bit here will be in line with this bit. And then what we're going to do is sew here to here, here to here, and then we'll join these bits, and then I will show you what to do after that. And now what I don't want to do, I don't want to sew all the way up to here, because your neck will be very small if you do that. So I'm going to fold this back over so that this is the right way and this is the wrong way. And then I'm going to do a mattress stitch here. So I'm just going to start it there, don't worry about the end for now. And then I'm going to go through that one there. So again, it's just a mattress stitch. So we go under the loop closest to the middle, and then on the other side we go under the loop closest to the middle, under the loop closest to the middle, under the loop closest to the middle, under the next loop closest to the middle, and under the next loop closest to the middle. And we just go all the way along until we have done that in all of our stitches. So like we did with the panels, we just do the same thing. There we go. Right, so that is that side joined. Now what I'm going to do is give it a bit of a tighten like this. There we go. And then I'm going to knot this, and I'm going to knot this. So to knot this, I'm just going to go back through here, and then I'm going to go through there. And I'm just going to snip that off. We will have more ends to do after this bit, but it doesn't matter, you'd have more ends to do anyway, so don't worry too much. Then I'm going to swap my darning needle to this end because I find it easier. You could do it with a crochet hook, but I just find it easier to darn with the needle. And then I'm going to go under there and back. I've lost it already. And back through here to make the knot. And that is that bit joined. Okay, so that's the first part of our cardigan joined. It's only joined like that, but that's fine. That's all we need for now. And now we're going to do the same on the other side. So now you'll see our cardigan is now joined here at the top. But now we need to add the arms. So for the arms, we want to fold that back out, and we want this line in line with this line. So what we're going to do, and this is going to be a little bit trickier, we are going to flip it round, and we are going to put this bit on top of this bit, and then we are going to mattress stitch from here all the way to here. So let me just repeat that. We are going to fold the arm over on top of this, making sure this line lines up with this line, like that. And then we are going to mattress stitch this bit across here. So now I'm just threading my needle. And like I said, we want to make sure that this is in line with the line below. And then we are just going to mattress stitch exactly the same way. So we go through the loop closest to the middle of the product, and then we go through this loop closest to the middle of the product, and then we go all the way up the arm. Don't worry about the stitches being loose at the moment, they come together when we give it a little tug, so it really doesn't matter. What matters though is that this bit is in line, otherwise you're going to have seams everywhere. There we go, so I'm just match stitching, I'm approaching the middle bit. And then we're going on to the other side of the arm. Get off you. And now we're at the end of this arm. So what we're going to do is we are going to pull both ends to make the stitches tight like this. Ready? Like that. Then we're going to knot both ends. So now I'm just threading my needle, and like I said, we want to make sure that this is in line with the line below, and then we are just going to match a stitch exactly the same way. So we go through the loop closest to the middle of the product, and then we go through this loop closest to the middle of the product, and then we go all the way up the arm. Don't worry about the stitches being loose at the moment, they come together when we give it a little tug, so it really doesn't matter. What matters though is that this bit is in line, otherwise you're going to have seams everywhere. There we go, so I'm just match stitching, I'm approaching the middle bit. And then we're going on to the other side of the arm. Get off you. And now we're at the end of this arm. So what we're going to do is we are going to pull both ends to make the stitches tight, like this. Ready? Like that. Then we're going to knot both ends. Just leave that, we'll sew that in afterwards. And we're going to knot this end. And then when you fold this out, what you should have, if we turn it around, you pull this bit, that bit will come with it, and then you've got one half. Obviously we need to sew here and here, but we'll do that in a minute. I am going to stop recording and I'm going to add the arm on the other side, and then we'll come back to the rest of it in a minute, okay? So now I've sewed both the arms on, so I'm going to flip it back like this, and then we're going to work out where we need to sew next. So we need to, I'm going to leave the ends because we'll do all the ends at the end. I need to find the end of my yarn, there we go. And I'm going to do all of this in one. So I'm going to snip off a fairly large tail of yarn. I'm going to thread my darning needle. And I'm going to, like I say, do all of this part in one. So to start, what we're going to do is we are going to do a mattress stitch. So we're going to go in that loop, but remember it's the one closest to the middle, and then we're going to go in the next one closest to the middle. Remember, I'm just making mine teddy bear sized, so you'll need to measure your waist or whatever to work out what size squares you need, okay? So we're just going in and out, and then on the other side in and back, in and back, just like so. Looks so pretty, doesn't it? I do love a granny square cardigan. And we're on to the next arm square. So now we're just closing up the sleeves on the cardigan. Make sure you measure your arms as well, because I know that these arms are going to be way too long for my teddy bear, but as it's just for my teddy bear, I'm not particularly bothered. And then we're going to go in that corner and in that bit of the corner. Going to get rid of that end. And then we're going to turn, so now we're on to this bit here. So I'm going to go back in there and back through here. Get it off. And when we finish this stretch of mattress stitching, we will have one side of the cardigan complete, unless you want to put ribbing on, but that will be another video. I'm not doing ribbing on this one today. But yeah, and then you just do the same on the other side. Oh, I think I just undid that one. These two colours together really are quite something, aren't they? Right, now you'll see that I've sewn all of that and I've sewn all of that. So now we need to tug this end to make the stitching tight, and then we need to tug this end to make the stitching tight, and then what we need to do is tie it off and tie it off, okay? That's that bit done. Now I'm just going to tie this bit off. And then I'm going to go and do the other side. I'm hoping you can do the other side, and then we'll meet and we'll sort out the ends. Okay. So now we have our cardigan all joined up. Doesn't it look so cute? What we need to do is get rid of some of these ends. So it's going to just be a case of making them smaller and then sewing them in the same way we did for the squares, but we just need to sew all the ends in. What do you think? Doesn't it look quite cute? I will show you how to do one, and then I'm going to do the rest off of camera. So remember, you go under the stitch, you just try and get to where there's a lot of stitches to hide it. So I'm going to the middle because my squares are quite small, and I'm going to go around a little bit more, maybe even a little bit more than that. Just keep going around for a little bit, and then I'm going to go back the other way. So we're going to use this as an anchor stitch, and we're going to go back the other way. So there we go, there is our cute little granny square cardigan.